What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Country Bunkers Trains. Hope you're doing well. As always, a very big welcome to all of the new subscribers. Thank you guys for joining. Well, guys, we've kept up some great momentum at rebuilding the layout and adding scenery. I figured we'd do a quick update and a little video on the scenery being installed on the layout. Doing the scenery on these layouts has always been kind of a love-hate relationship. I guess hate's kind of a strong word. However, doing the scenery work really isn't my forte or my favorite thing to do. I'd much rather be running and enjoying the trains. However, with that said, we obviously want to create a nice little scene for the trains to run through versus just having a plain table. It looks a hell of a lot better. And like I say, it's not really my favorite thing to do, but it is somewhat enjoyable when you get in the mood to do it. It's kind of therapeutic in a way, if you will. Usually what I like to do, I'll come in here and turn the radio on, get some music going, and after a long day of work, it really lets you forget everyday life and really focus on creating a scene and installing some scenic work on the layout. Like I say, it's somewhat therapeutic in a sense. It really clears your mind and gets you focused on creating that scene. A popular question I receive quite frequently on the channel is how I go about installing scenery as well as servicing the track on the layout, seeing as how the layout itself takes up all the square footage in this room from wall to wall. Believe it or not, guys, even though I'm a big boy, I'm still somewhat agile. I got a little stool and I climb up here and I get on the layout and do all my work on top of the layout. When I can, I try and access it from the door over here as well as the window over here. But a lot of the times, like I say, I get up on the layout and do my work like that. As you can see, I'm working my way counterclockwise around the outer perimeter or edge of the layout, leaving me the space in the middle to work from. Now, of course, once I go about installing the scenery on the middle of the table, then no, I can no longer access the entire table or climb up on top of it. However, this has not caused me any issues, at least not yet. When it comes time to servicing and cleaning the track, as I was saying, I can still come in from the door over here as well as the window over here. I use a big yardstick and a Mr. Clean magic eraser, and I go about cleaning the tracks like that. Like I say, it hasn't posed an issue for me. And again, this is why I stressed so heavily in a previous video, spending the time to get all this track set up nice and perfect, or as flush and perfect as you can get it. It's a very important step. This is ensuring you're not going to have any derailments or trains falling in the back area off the tracks in a spot that isn't easily accessible. Of course, I have had instances in trains becoming derailed back there, but again, I just use the yardstick and get back there and push it to where I need to get it, or I'll have a train go and retrieve it if need be. But like I say, it hasn't been an issue. And truth be told, 9 times out of 10, any derailments I've had are due to human error, my own mistake. I've never had a train become derailed by itself back there. Usually it's from placing the wheels incorrectly on the track and then making their way around the track to a spot where they finally come undone and create a short, whatever have you. I did have a good one happen to me the other night. Unbeknownst to me, I had one too many adult beverages, and I got up here and was sprawled out doing my ballast and laying ground cover for about an hour or so. But I went to come and get off the table, and I got over here, and I got a little too cocky when I was trying to get down, and I missed my stool, and my big rear came sliding to the ground. Ended up scratching up all the grass up here on the front corner of the table. It was quite humorous. We can cover all of this in the future, but like I say, it was pretty funny at the time. But yeah, guys, like I was saying, I'm currently working on the outer edge and the back side of the layout as much as possible. Trying to work on it while I have all the access to it before all this stuff gets placed on the interior or the center of the table. I don't normally spend this much time on the back side of the layout, as because obviously you're not really going to be standing back there viewing it. However, the old saying, the devil's in the details. And like I was saying previously as well, I'm not planning on redoing this layout anytime soon. So I'm putting forth a little bit more effort and doing some more scenery and detail work. I'm quite pleased with how it is coming out. But let's go ahead and take a look at it. For the passenger station itself, I had these old MTH passenger station platforms used previously that I ended up trimming down to size and to enable it to fit here. I ended up cutting them down with a grinder and a cutoff wheel to around 2¼ inches deep. This gave me enough space and clearance to continue running the trains through here without having any issues or the trains running into them. And then obviously I just got them placed up against the wall. I'm pretty happy with how those turned out. I did the same thing with the bridge. That was a Lionel 2-track pedestrian bridge that I did the same thing. I just cut it down to be able to fit in there. I haven't glued the bridge down as everything in here is extremely tight. There's about an 1/8 inch of clearance everywhere around. You can see with this double stack car, it gets super close. So in the future, if I need to remove that, like I say, it's not glued down and I can take it out of there if needed. But I think we're pretty good. All the pedestrians and people are just glued down. Obviously, we got some street lights installed. I think it came out pretty good, though. One thing I really like about this passenger station platform, one thing I've always had to fight with all my layouts being on the smaller side, especially now with these big wide radius curves, all the track has always been in the same pattern or position, following each other around the table. As I said in previous videos, we obviously do not have space to do intricate track planning or have track running in different directions and whatnot. So this passenger station platform kind of helps break up the monotony a little bit of the tracks running side by side around the outer edge of the table. It gave me a way to get a scene in between the tracks, because as I say, obviously I wouldn't be able to normally place a building in between the tracks here. That's something I've always had to fight. It was a little bit easier to do when working with 042 and just 054 track work, because I could bring the track close together and then I could have a curve to separate the tracks and be able to put a scene in between the tracks. But I don't really have that ability now. Having these 082, 072, and 054 curves, they all follow themselves around the track. Moving on, behind the passenger station, got some trees installed. As you can tell, some brush in between the tracks. Got some deer here grazing, as well as some campers. And this leads into the trailer park. Here's a better view of the trailer park. Some really nice pieces. It's kind of a shame to have these hidden in the back corner of the layout under the bridge, because like I say, these are some great looking pieces. These are the Woodland Scenics trailers. They got a bunch of great detail. But this is where they fit, and they still look good back here. Obviously, we got a little dirt road leading up to them. Some people placed here and there. We do have one street light. We did have some casualties while taking down the layout when doing the expansion. These did come in a 3-pack, but the other two, the wiring got damaged when being removed. So this gave me a spot to at least install one. But then, yeah, pretty basic. Moving on to in front of the bridge. We did get the bridge powered up once again. When I did the last expansion, the bridge quit working. The power to it quit. It had some bad wires hooked up to it. So we got some new wires installed and it's lit up again. It's pretty nice to see that thing on again. And then moving on from there, we got some housing installed with a sign. Some more gravel road, people. Like I say, I don't normally spend this much time on the back side of the layout as you don't really see this. But hopefully this will enable some great videos coming up in the future. Some nice places to shoot some scenes and whatnot. Moving on from the houses, we just got some more brush, some ballasting. Do got our crossing gate here installed under the bridge. And then this will lead into a little bit more industrial area. You can see we got the one building there, we got a sign. This is still a work in progress. Here's another view from the front side. Got some telephone poles installed. Our Pabst Blue Ribbon sign is back up and running. I did steal the Vetter Sash and Door Company building from the other layout, and I do like it here. I think it looks pretty good. I will say I had to fight this building. You notice the fans are no longer running. And I mentioned in that Menards video I did a little while back, I was worried of them dying. I ended up getting it powered up. A few of the blinking LEDs and whatnot were working. However, none of the interior lights were working, and like I say, the fans quit working, but I could hear the motor spinning. I tried to fix it, but I can't access the motor. It's all built within the framework of the building. I ended up cutting the power going to the motor and hooked them up to the lights. That way I could at least get the lights up and running again. Like I say, I'm pretty cautious of buying Menards buildings with moving parts. They always seem to give me issues. However, I don't normally have issues with the lighting. But like I say, luckily I was able to get them powered up once again. Over here we've got the new engine and freight yard being installed. Obviously still a work in progress. I'm going to have a dead siding I'm going to place back on the table leading up to that engine shed. And I've got an old legacy engine that no longer runs that I'll place on that siding just for looks. But I think it's looking pretty good. I did notice the light bulbs, or either the wiring possibly, on this fueling station in the middle in between the tracks, that's no longer lighting up. I'm not going to sweat it though. It kind of gets drowned out by this spotlight here that shines on everything at night. I've got to pick up some more workers and pedestrians to place on here. Like I say, it's obviously still a work in progress as I'm working from the center of the layout. But yeah guys, that's where we're at currently. Obviously still a work in progress. I think it's coming out pretty good. I always think it looks good until I get on here on YouTube and view other people's layouts and go, ah, damn. But like I say, for an amateur, I think it looks pretty damn well. It's a lot better. It's grown up quite a bit more than it was previously. And obviously we're reinstalling and reusing all of our old accessories and buildings and whatnot from the layout previously. The only thing I've added so far is the ballast and the shrubs and whatnot, and a couple new trees. But yeah, everything else I've already had on hand, so it's making going back together somewhat easy and fairly quick. Speaking about the buildings being reinstalled back onto the layout, got me thinking about some comments that I've been seeing more and more of frequently, or comments kind of hinting at the same thing, stating that I must be a doctor or a lawyer or that I must be rich. And it kind of rubs me the wrong way, as that kind of goes against everything I've been trying to do with this channel. It's always been one of my points to show you don't have to be a millionaire to be in the O-gauge trains. I'm not rich. I'm a pretty blue-collar worker. I don't make 6 figures a year. And as I say, I've been in this hobby off and on for over 20 years. It's taken that long to amass this modest, in my opinion, collection. This didn't just happen overnight. And we all started somewhere. Like I say, it's taken 20 years to get where I'm at currently. So don't feel bad or feel left out or anything like that. Like I say, we all started somewhere and we're still continuing on our journey. I do plan on reinstalling the city in this back corner once again, just as it was last time. I kind of like the way that it looked. Plus, this is the biggest spot I have left to place the city in. So I think that's where we're going to go with it. And then we'll have our streets and whatnot. We might have a little bit more industrial park over here with the Vetter Sash and Door Company. And then I'm thinking of doing a suburb scene up here with some houses and whatnot, and a street going out towards the front of the layout to help hide this seam in the grass. But we'll see what happens when we get to that point. For the ballast on the tracks, I ended up picking up this number 16 blended ballast from Scenic Express. I think its stuff looks pretty good. It matches the real tracks very well. Obviously, I'm not doing the interior or the center of the tracks, and this matches it a lot better than the previous ballast I was using did. The previous ballast was more tan or a lighter color, whereas this is a little bit darker, so it matches the track quite well. I will say 2 things in my opinion I think that you can do to really bring your layout up to the next level is doing ballast as well as installing trees. Trees really help give a perspective and some height to the layout, and the ballast really gives it that realistic look. Like I say, I think it kind of brings it up to the next level. A lot of people seem very interested on if we were going to glue the ballast this go around or just place it on the tracks and leave it. And the answer is, we glued it. For a couple of reasons. I don't like gluing it, especially whenever I know I'm going to be redoing the layout. But as I stated many times, I'm not redoing this layout for a long time. And with the ballast not glued down, it creates somewhat of a mess. I'd leave marks in the ballast placing engines on the tracks. And the biggest pain in the rear was when I was cleaning the track, especially in the back there. Like I was stating earlier, I use a Mr. Clean magic eraser and a yardstick. Well, it's not exactly the easiest thing to do from hanging out or in from the window or the door. So when I was washing the tracks, this would move and it would move all the ballast and create a big mess. It was kind of a headache. So I decided to glue it this go around. I'll give you guys a little demonstration on how I am installing this ballast. The glues that I'm using for the ballast are supposed to be washable. The hope is that sometime in the very distant future, when it is time to take this layout down or rechange it, I can hopefully save the track and clean it all the ballast off of the track with no issue with some hot water. I'm sure the grass mat is going to be a lost cause, but as long as I can get all the ballast off the track itself, I'm fine with that. My first step, or my first gluing, I'm just using basic Elmer's washable school glue. I take this stuff and I place it in this little cup, and I got a little old paintbrush that I'm using, and I take it and I just brush the side of the track as well as get a little bit on the grass on the side of the track. I'll go ahead and get all of this glue placed on the side of this track as far as I want, and then we'll move on to actually laying the ballast. Hopefully you guys can see that little bit of glue that I've now added to the side of the track. I'm not going crazy, it's just a light coating, something for the ballast itself to stick to. For laying the ballast, I've got this little small measuring cup that I've had for quite a while, and this is what I'm using to actually lay the ballast. I'm sure this isn't the easiest method, and some people might be banging their head against the wall, but this is what works very well for me. All I'm going to do now is come up again to the side of the track and very lightly just spread it down next to the track. I want to be careful and not go overboard and not lay too much, and just lay a nice even coating of ballast. I have found the less that you touch it or mess with it, the better it ends up looking. For instance, if I were to mess up and then I came in here and started pushing it around, it's very hard to get that natural look once again. One thing I'm also trying to do, which is about damn near impossible on this MTH Reel Tracks, I try not to cover the ties on the outside of the rail. However, as I say, it's almost impossible because these ties are only like a 16th inch tall. So it's almost impossible not to cover them. However, sometimes I get very lucky and I am able to do it. Just a lot of patience. As you can see, this is a very time-consuming task, but I would say I think it's very much well worth it. I'll go ahead and get all this ballast placed on the track, and then we'll move on to the final gluing. One thing I do run into with this MTH Reel Tracks doing the ballast this way, if you go a little bit too light on the coat, I don't know if you guys will see it on camera, but you'll get a hard edge in the ballast from the edge of the track itself. All you got to do is go back over it once more with another light coat to try and make that hard edge disappear a little bit more. And just like that, we're good. Once I am done with all of the ballast work itself, I do come in here very lightly and I'll get all the little stragglers and push them back into the pile. And if I need to make it look better or do anything to make it look better, I'll go about now's the time to do it. Now that we got our ballast placed looking good, it's now ready for the top layer of glue. I'm gluing it from the top using this scenic cement from Woodland Scenics. I'm pretty pleased with this stuff. It is a little expensive. However, it's worked quite well for me with this ballast. This is my first time using it. What I'm doing, I've also got one of their little spray bottles. I'm just mixing it 50-50 with water in this spray bottle. And then all I'm doing is coming back and gently spraying it on the ballast. You can see when it's mixed with water, it's quite thin. The ballast soaks it right up. And it's able to penetrate into the ballast and get glue everywhere to hold it in place. Sometimes I do need to go back and do a second coat with this glue, just because, you know, maybe I missed a spot or it didn't penetrate or get soaked into a spot well enough to stick. But yeah, it works out pretty well. Obviously, after you're done spraying it, ensure to get any glue off of the track. You don't want any of that on the tracks. That's not going to be any good for you. And now we're ready for it to dry. For the brush in between the tracks, a big shout out to Caleb's Trains here on YouTube. I really enjoyed watching their videos and seeing their brush and shrubs in between their tracks, and that gave me the inspiration to do this. This is what I'm doing, my kind of rendition of it, if you will. But I'm just using these different colors and flavors from Woodland Scenics. We got green, medium green bushes, fall yellow turf, fall orange, yellow grass, and then this blended turf. This stuff is what gets used the most. Very easy, very simple. It just gets spread onto the grass. I'll go ahead and give you a little demonstration. First thing we're going to do is with the scenic cement once again. We're going to go ahead and wet down the grass mat. Don't want to completely soak it, but you do want to get a good little bit of glue on there for the grass and turf to stick to. Once it's wetted down, our first layer is the blended turf. I like this stuff a lot. The mat that I'm using under all of this stuff is that summer grass mat from Woodland Scenics. As I've said before, it's not really that green, it's kind of a brown color. This blended turf really helps give it a pop and bring it alive. But we're just going to go around, carefully around the ballast. We don't want to get the ballast all covered in grass. We're not going crazy, just giving it a light coat. Don't worry about being perfect. As we all know, in the real world, grass isn't perfect. But once that's spread down, I come back, give it another coat of glue, help set that and stick it to the mat. And it gives our next layer something to stick to as well. I start out with the yellow. Give it a light coating. You don't want to go crazy. You don't want a ton of this stuff. But just give it a light mist. You don't want it everywhere. It's kind of hard to work around the trees. But after that, we'll go on to the brown, or the yellow grass as they call it. Don't want to go super crazy with this one either, as it matches the yellow pretty well. Kind of blends in with the yellow. You don't want to have too much yellow. And then we'll move on to the fall orange, give it some more depth. I like this color a lot. You can see I've used it quite a bit more. Same thing though, just a light dusting here and there. Not a perfect coat. Once all of that's down, I'll go ahead once more with the glue, carefully, because you see it wants to blow away. Once you get it wet, you can go a little bit heavier on the glue. It won't try and blow away from you, end up all over the tracks. Then we're going to come back with the bushes. Same thing. These are a little bit harder to work with coming out of the can. Whatever looks good to you. Make sure we get it off the ballast. Once I get that stuff spread, I like to come back and push it down into the mat and into that glue to help it stick. Once all that's done, to help it all blend together, I come back once more with that blended turf and give it one more light coating. This helps knock the color down a little bit and make it blend in a little bit more. Make it look a little bit more natural, if you will. And then our final step is one more layer of glue. As you guys can see, pretty easy. And that's it. Now all we got to do is let it dry. But there's the finished result. Looks a lot better than just the plain mat, doesn't it? You can see right here is where I started out originally. This is where I first started doing this. And I was quite a bit more shy with the with the turfs when I was laying them down. I actually just came back and added some more bushes in here to match this side a little bit more. I'm not quite as shy because I've seen that adding a little bit more gives it a little bit more depth and make it look a little bit more realistic. At least to me. Everybody's taste is different. But I think this goes along pretty good with the track. We received a couple requests in the last video or two of people wanting to see some post-war engines and equipment running on the new layout. I went ahead and got some of the post-war engines and equipment down off of the shelves and dusted off. They're ready to run. I'm going to leave you guys with some post-war stuff running on the new layout. I hope you guys enjoyed this little video, or at the very least maybe got some ideas for your own personal layout. If you did, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. Until next time, guys, y'all take care. My name is Zach, and this is Country Bunkers Trains. I'll see you the next go-round.